Today we are going to look into the difference between the reduced instruction set computer, which we usually write it as RISE, and the complex instruction set computer. So before we describe the differences between the reduced instruction set computer and complex instruction set computer, I take few minutes to define what exactly the system is. A computer system uh, basically contains three fundamental system components. One is your CPU, the other is IO unit, and we have a memory unit. Apart from these three fundamental system components, the other system components are interrupts, timers, then we have oscillating circuit, right, and communication port. So now if you look at a chip, right, now on this chip, what you want to put? If you want to put only the processor, uh, you want to embed only the processor, insert the processor, and rest part of the system units, system components like IO. Then you have the memory component, you have an interrupt component, timers component, oscillator circuit component. If you want to do it outside the chip, then that we call it as processor on the chip. So we have only the processor on the chip, and this processor will be a complex processor. The complexity of this processor is more, and you have another approach that on a chip I can make the processor very simpler. So the CPU also I will embed into the chip, right? And then the IO channel communication port also I can put few communication port, and limited memory also I want to insert. Then I can insert the timers, or I can insert the interrupts. So these major system components that I can embed into a single chip. Now since this complete system, simple system is on the chip, so I will call it a system on chip, and this is a processor on chip. Now what makes me to how I can make the complete system to be available on a chip? Then I have to reduce the complexity that has been associated with the processor. If the complexity of the processor is been reduced, then only I can make some free space available for the other system components that can be integrated on the chip. So to if I want to reduce the complexity of the processor, then I need to have a different instruction set for that. So that is all we are going to study in the reduced instruction set computer and the complex instruction set computer. The reduced instruction set computer makes possible to have a system on chip, and the complex instruction set computer, we have a processor on chip. Now if you look at the processor, the major component of a processor are the register section we have, ALU section we have, and a control unit we have. And the control unit contains, of course, contains the decoder part also. When we are going to design a processor, so these three component of a processor I have to design. And largely, if I want to make the control unit to be very simple, then I need to have a very simple instruction set. Therefore, in reduced instruction set computer, since I need to simplify the complexity that has been associated with the processor by simplifying the decoder, and to simplify the decoder, we have to simplify the instruction set, right? So if I want to make the processor to be very simple in operation, then I had to work on the control unit. that is the major part of the control unit is the decoding circuit. I need to work on the decoding circuit. My decoder needs to be very simple. And if the decoder needs to be simple, then you need to have a simplified instruction set we must have. So therefore, in reduced instruction set computer, we have the instruction size we need to fix. Instruction size needs to be fixed. So when we can fix the instruction size, then we have to limit the addressing mode. So limit the addressing modes of the instruction supported, limit the addressing modes for the instruction. So largely, right, 98 to 99 percentage of the instruction will support only addressing mode, register addressing mode, right? So once we limit the addressing mode, we have only few instructions. That is the reduced number of instructions I have. It means that we are not going to reduce the functionality. Here we have add instruction, and in complex instruction also we have an add instruction, but this add instruction supports various addressing mode. So you can add the content of register, you can add the content of register and memory location, you can content direct memory addressing mode, or you can add the content of register or the content of memory location whose address is pointed by another register R2, right? So these are various addressing modes where we can fetch the operands from the memory. But when you look at the reduced instruction set computer, we have an add instruction where it will have what only the register addressing mode. The other addressing modes are not been supported in the reduced instruction set. So thereby reducing the number of addressing modes. Actually, we are not reducing the functionality. We are reducing the addressing modes that are supported for the instructions. So when we have limited addressing mode, then we can use the space of the processor to have what registers section. So we have a large register sections will be available. Now why we need a large register section? Because most of the instruction, that is 98 to 99 percentage of the instructions that are available in the reduced instruction set computer architecture, uh, we must have a processor's memory, that is registers we must have in larger quantity, right? And which is not required in the complex instruction set computer. Now the fifth difference is, when suppose if the data resides in the memory, right, and your registers that what we have inserted into the processor are not enough, then you don't have any way to have what the data that to be reside in the memory. If the data resides in the memory, then how do you fetch that data in and bring it into the register? So we have a separate architecture that we call it as load store architecture. So reduced instruction set computer needs a load store architecture in case if the operands are available in the memory, and we cannot directly manipulate the operands that resides in the memory. So it needs to be brought from the memory into the registers, and then it has to be manipulated or it has to be processed. So that is the reason. And the sixth reason, what we have found in the reduced instruction set computer is that uh, the time of execution for register addressing mode is faster, right? So we are going to achieve what the program execution time, since we are using a register addressing mode, so the program execution time will be very less. The program execution time is very less. And if you look at the complex instruction set computer, so we have only the processor on the chip, right? And here the instruction size is fixed, here the instruction size are variable. So why the instruction size are variable? Because if you look at here, many addressing modes of a given function it is going to support, right? So it will support register, direct memory, register indirect, indexed addressing mode. So that is the reason that the size of the instruction is variable, and hence the decoder is simpler. So you can just insert here, the decoder is simpler in this range. As the size of the instruction variable size is variable, then the decoder is very complex to construct. Decoder is complex to construct, right? And why it is so? Because varieties of in addressing modes it supports, varieties of various addressing modes it is going to support. And since the data resides in the memory, as well as you have a few registers in the processor, so it is not required to have a larger, right? So not necessary, not necessary to have large register section, and no need of load store architecture, because the instruction itself, through the instructions only we can directly manipulate the contents of the operands that resides in the memory. And if you look at the program execution time, so the program execution time is larger comparatively to the reduced instruction set computer, that is register addressing mode. And if you have a limited addressing modes, then the we have a very big challenge in writing the program. So big challenge in writing programs. Why? Because we have only limited instructions or limited freedom you have been given to write the program. If you want to add the content of two memory location, then the direct instruction is not available in the reduce instruction, because the content should be available in the register, but here the contents are available in memory. Then you have to first load those content from the memory into the registers, and then you have to perform the addition operation. So for a programmer it is a big challenge in writing in terms of a program. And therefore, to minimize the overheads for the programmer, so we have a new concept that we will have a compiler. So the compilers are complex in nature. So to overcome the difficulty or challenges faced by the programmer, the compiler will be designed such a way that we can help the programmer to make their life easy. So most of the part the compiler will take care. And whereas here the programmer has been given flexibility, right? So programmer has the flexibility to write the program. And here the compilers, the compilers are simpler, right?